Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to another edition of the On Point Discussion. I am your host for this evening, Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Julius and Wyatt. You can find Julius on Twitter at The Fifth Top. And of course, Wyatt, you can find him on Twitter at The Cornelius7. Don't forget about the Twitter page for the show at Talks on Point. Gentlemen, we're getting close to summertime. I know it's probably balls hot down by you guys, but we're just now dipping into the 80s in Wisconsin. How are we doing down there, guys?
I'm doing pretty good, man. In Texas, it was 80 degrees. It's nice. It's been a lot of rain. We're going to get a lot of rain in May, and it's starting to get warm, and then it's going to be like a heat wave for 3 months in a drought, and we're not going to get no rain. So just enjoying the late spring here in Central Texas.
Wyatt, how are you, sir?
Good. It's starting to warm up. It's 90. It's going to be 93. It's pretty hot today, and it's going to get even hotter when I take a little short trip to Tucson here next week, which will be in the close to the hundreds.
Oh man, Tucson is such a nice city. I used to live out in Mesa, which is a little suburb of Phoenix. So I heard all of the rumors about a dry heat. I didn't believe it until I got there. I mean, it really isn't that bad if you get in the shade and stuff. I actually wanted to ask you guys a quick question. If you had to choose between winter cold, summer heat, which one would you choose?
That's hard. He stopped me. Let me think about that real quick, because I've been in like 130 something degree heat in Kuwait, Iraq, and I've been in like -50, -40 in Detroit and Germany. Which is worse? That's such a great question.
See, I work outside. My 9 to 5. I work outside probably 90-ish% of the time. There's some days where I'm inside, but I've worked out in that -30 shit, and I've worked out. I had surface temperatures on roofs that have reached 140 degrees. I got to be honest. I'm taking 95-degree heat all day, and I would never even hesitate about it. Wyatt, what about you?
So I do love the winter, and I don't know if I could handle like Minnesota winters or Wisconsin winters, because it's like it seems like it's so long, and then like you got to shovel snow if you don't live in the city. And then as you get older, you kind of crave, like your body kind of needs like that warmth, like the sun warmth. And so even during the winter time here, like it'll get cold sometimes, like not cold, but cold for me. And then when the sun's out and it's 60 or 70, it's nice to get that warmth. So I think I would just deal with the hot weather.
Wyatt, what is the coldest temperature you've ever physically experienced?
0 degrees.
0 degrees? All right. So you have at least experienced that frigid, nasty, like it chills your bones kind of cold. So, all right, fair enough. We're going to get right into things. We got a great lineup. Wyatt has presented us with a great lineup of topics to discuss today. We're going to start with the new CDC guidelines and the sudden change in the mask policy for those that are vaccinated. I'd like to get you guys' thoughts on why you think the CDC has kind of flipped the script almost instantly, it seems like, where they are now saying that you do not have to wear masks. Vaccinated people can go on about their lives and join things to almost a normal point. Julius, I'd like to start with you. What do you think the reason is behind this? Is there a reason behind it?
There might be a few different reasons behind it, and there's definitely political reasons behind it, as with everything in our country nowadays. But the CDC and the current federal administration, President Biden, they're trying to force people to get the vaccine. They're trying to pressure people to get it. Okay, they want I think we have overload of vaccines right now. We have too many that we're not giving out. They're just rotting away in pantries and fridges. They're trying to force people to get it. Hey, you wanna walk through Walmart without a mask? Get the vaccine. You want to go to movie theater? Get the vaccine. Pretty much anything that is the basis of our freedoms, our personal, our entertainment freedoms. It's a question of freedom. Now we're talking about the word freedom. The freedom popped up. I don't like that. I don't like when my freedoms are being talked about. Like, am I really free? Can I really just not get this medicine that I don't want and still do the things I want to do? Isn't that American freedom? So when I question that, I worry about it. So that's pretty much my take on it.
And you bring up a good point, because no matter what it is, when you start discussing freedoms, when it becomes a topic of conversation for a long period of time, you start to question, is this really something that's a freedom, or is this a privilege I'm being allowed to have for a certain amount of time before it's taken away from me? So Julius, you do bring up a very good point with that. Wyatt, what are your thoughts?
It was very surprising. Like when the CDC just announced that suddenly, because I thought we were going to be in this for a little bit longer, like wearing masks and stuff. But it's good to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I was unsure, because I felt like I live in a Democratic state, so I was like, there's no way, even though the CD passed this, that our governor in New Mexico, is going to say you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. But she did. Now, there are some places that are saying you have to still wear your mask in school system, or if you work with kids. So I don't know if that's going to change next school year. So the 3 reasons why the CDC pushed this, the first one was, that I gathered from information that I researched, is the COVID-19 vaccines. It's incredibly effective, showing 95% effective rate. And then for all the variants of the coronavirus, research shows that the vaccines are largely effective, like all the variants in the U.S. That's what the CDC is gathering, not from outside the U.S. So that was another reason. And then the vaccine helps people from not spreading COVID-19, which is a big thing, right? So that's why they're like, okay, you got the vaccine, you're not going to be spreading it, very likely. So it was a big change. It was all of a sudden, and it was just kind of like a shock, because I never thought the CDC would just do this like quickly right away. But it's showing that enough people are getting vaccinated, and it's working. It's effective. So hopefully we can go back to that normalcy thing. I know Julius went through the other point with the political move, which he's right on that aspect as well.
Realistically speaking, I mean, it's probably realistic to think that the reason why the CDC is relaxing their mask guidelines for vaccinated people is simply because of the amount of people that have been vaccinated. It is impossible, however, to look at this and not think about the spectrum in which this decision was made. On one side, you have the spectrum of, like Julius pointed out, theoretically forcing people to go get the vaccination, like holding it out there almost like a reward. If you go get vaccinated, you can do life normally. You can go about not wearing a mask. You can do the things you used to like doing. On the other end of it, I think you have a nation that's at a point now where they just really don't give a shit about masks anymore. I mean, living where I live I live on the eastern kind of coast of Wisconsin. I know it's weird to say coast in Wisconsin, but I live along Lake Michigan, central Wisconsin, and everywhere I go, no one cares about masks. I went into a bar up in Green Bay, and there's a sign posted in the bathroom that says, if you are not wearing a mask, we are going to assume that you have a medical condition that prevents you from wearing one, and we will not ask. So it could be that the CDC is trying to say, hey, guys, maybe we kind of want you to get vaccinated, and then you cannot wear a mask. But, as we pointed out, it's kind of hard not to think about these things. Guys, did you have anything else that you wanted to add on the CDC guidelines?
Yeah, one more thing real quick, as it pertains to like how you say in your region of eastern Wisconsin, is not people don't care, and down here in Texas, which is like king of the red states as it's known, people don't care. People don't care about masks. I would say half the people aren't wearing them, even though I still wear them, because there's still a sizable amount of people that wear them, and I would say I'm close to honestly taking mine off live on air. I'm close to taking mine off in public and everywhere I go, and you don't have to know if I got vaccinated or not to make that decision.
I'll be completely honest with the crowd, the Twitter sphere, the YouTube sphere. Not only have I had COVID, but I am vaccinated. There's a pub down the street from my house. I live in a town of 3,000 people. If I go to the gas station, if I go to the pub, if I go to some of the local restaurants in the area, I don't wear them. When I go to work, I wear them just to make people feel comfortable. I don't want people getting upset or angry. And, if I go into some of these big box stores, I'll just throw it on just to appease the masses. I don't want to be on YouTube arguing with somebody, but I genuinely look forward to the day where it is no longer required. We're knocking on the door. I believe Wisconsin, in the Milwaukee area in specific, I believe it's June 2nd, where there is no longer a mask mandate. So we're right there, gentlemen. We're at the finish line. Wyatt, did you have anything else you wanted to close this topic out with? So moving on, we are actually going to touch on the home state of Julius, and the Texas governor bans mask mandate for state public schools and local governments. So we're going to start with this particular subject. Julius, your children aren't old enough to be in school yet, are they?
Yeah. I got a 7-year-old that's in
7. Okay, all right. Now, is his school doing masks, or were they doing masks?
Okay, so here's the deal. Yeah, they're doing masks still, but as of Saturday, so the 22nd of May, he made an executive. The governor Abbott made an executive order saying schools and public places, not even corporations, schools anywhere, cannot force you to wear a mask. You can go through their store without a mask if you want to and not be berated or kicked out for it. So you say on Monday morning, my son has 1 week left of school before summer break. On Monday morning, if I want to send him to school without a mask, I have every right to do that by the laws of the state of Texas, executive order by Governor Abbott.
Now, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but are you going to send your son to school without a mask?
No, he's going to finish this school year out with a mask. Like I said, it's only a week left of school. He's going to finish it out wearing a mask. Like I alluded to, I'm still not totally comfortable myself wearing taking my mask off in public yet. So yeah, he's going to finish off the school year with a mask.
Wyatt, what are your thoughts on the school mask mandate as a teacher? How does this affect you, or how do you think it affects teachers in Texas?
I like the idea. I like how Governor Abbott led the charge and said, we're going to open up the state, and then everyone criticized it for him, and then you can see that everything went down, cases and everything. And this is one thing he pointed out when he did away with it. He said Texans, not government, should decide their best health practices, which is why masks will not be mandated by public school district or government entities. This is what the federal government should be abiding by. You decide if you want to wear a mask or not. You can see Julius, he's deciding if his son's going to wear a mask. He's going to decide if he's going to wear a mask. It should be a decision based on the family, the individual. And this is what I like from Governor Abbott. So what I'm seeing is if doing this shows that, hey, it's going to work, we're not going to have all these cases in, government schools in Texas. Well, hopefully other states will do this come next school year.
So we're going to take a step back and touch on something that Julius brought up, the law that is going into effect for Texas, where public businesses cannot kick you out or berate you for not wearing a mask. What do you guys think as a private business owner? Let's say you owned an Ace Hardware or a general store, something like that, and the governor told you cannot force people to wear a mask to enter your store. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it, but how do you think that affects people who own these businesses, who are being told they cannot have their own rules in place to serve the public? I mean, do you have a problem with this, or are you okay with this? We'll start with you, Julius, since you're down there in the epicenter of it.
You know what? Not really, because I feel like in general, most people gonna follow the rules of that establishment. Literally, Governor Abbott is making this executive order. There's already been corporations. I don't recall which ones, but a few big ones that said we're still gonna require customers to wear a mask despite the governor's executive orders. So I think most people are going to be like, okay, whatever. I mean, I've been wearing it. I've been being told I have to wear it for months anyway. So whatever, I'll keep wearing it. If you really want me to, Sam's Club, I'll keep wearing this dang old mask. But, and this is off topic, but you said my home state is Texas. My home state is Michigan.
Your live-in state.
My adopted state is Texas. But
sorry about that.
It's all right. I do keep up with a lot of the state and local government down here, so it's no problem. I do call Texas home.
Wyatt, what about you? Your opinions on private business owners being told that they cannot enforce this?
This is interesting because sometimes you see signs posted where it says, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone," or "No shirt, no shoes, no service." So I think this is a fine line where you should be able, if it's your business. Now, granted, if it's your business and it's not a franchise type of business like Home Depot and Sam's and all that, I think that's a little different situation. But if you're like a mom and pop store, and you have a sign there, what happens if you say you reserve the right to refuse service to somebody, and they come in without them wearing a mask, or maybe you have it posted with that sign? So I think that's a little touchy subject, because you, as a business owner, your own business, you should be able to decide who you want to service and not. So I don't agree with this. Now, on the other side, you could look at it like, well, make sure that your employees, or make sure that you're vaccinated as an owner, and then you don't have to worry about people not coming in with masks and maybe affecting your family or employees.
The only issue that I have with this particular guideline by Governor Abbott is it sets a dangerous precedent. If you can tell stores what they can and can't do with their customers with a mask, what is stopping governors from saying, okay, well, you have to let shirtless people in, or you have to let shoeless people in, just as an example. So I think it sets a dangerous precedent on not allowing private business owners to do as they please with their business, as long as it remains within the guidelines of health and safety. So I agree with you. I don't like that particular law that's going into place. I don't like that that policy. I think if a business owner chooses to not allow somebody into their store if they're not wearing a mask, I think they should be allowed to do that, just as much as, if it's my choice, I shouldn't have to wear the mask, but I just won't go in the store, is I guess the fine line you'd have to walk. So moving on from the mask and COVID discussion, we're going to dive into why Biden is really not trying to have peace negotiations in the Middle East. And I'd like to get your thoughts on this. This is actually a hot button topic right now, because it really seems like during Trump's administration, one of his focal points, one of his main discussion topics was peace in the Middle East. And a lot of foreign relations were healed, mended. There was a lot of growth. There was a lot of improvement with foreign relations with Trump. And it really seems like foreign relations has not been one of Biden's strong suits. We saw his issue with Putin and their back and forth a couple of months ago with Russia. And now we see really a lack of his presence with discussions that are going on in the Middle East. Wyatt, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this, and what reasoning do you think he has to really not be involved right now?
Well, I mean, if you look from the beginning of his presidency, he hasn't been really involved in much except for, executive orders with his pen. Same thing with the border crisis. Oh, I'm going to send Kamala Harris. Well, where is she? I haven't seen her at the border. Same thing here with the Middle East. So I'm just going to sit here and be quiet, and hopefully it gets resolved on its own. That's the same thing I see happening here. And America has a good presence in the world. Some bad, some good. But the presidents in the Middle East, we've had our hand in it, whether it's been with the feud or peaceful. But you saw with the Trump administration that there was progressive peace. And then here comes Biden, 100 and some days in office, and things aren't getting better. And he thinks if he can just sit there and be quiet, that things will resolve on his own. Same thing with the border. I'm really not surprised that he's not doing anything. This one's going to get a little far right for me, but I can tell you right now, there's one reason why he is not involving himself with peace talks in the Middle East, and that's war. What is the number one thing that war generates for America, no matter whether America's involved in it or not? Money. What happens when a city is decimated in the Middle East? You send in your contractors to rebuild. Where are all those contractors coming from? They're coming from America. There's money to be made in the Middle East. When you destroy something, something has to be built on top of it. And who's the one rushing in there? All of these private organizations that get these government contracts. And it's weird that a lot of these private organizations have politicians on their board or politicians who are shareholders. That to me, that is the number one reason. And it seems to be a going trend with every Democratic president that we have. The Republicans, they want peace in the Middle East. Trump set up everything in Israel.
So it's kind of a trend. I mean, we had Obama who sent all the airstrikes in the Middle East. He bombed more places in the Middle East than any president before him combined. War makes money. And that's exactly why Biden does not care if war continues in the Middle East, because war is going to make him money. Julius, your thoughts, sir?
You're exactly right. It's called the military-industrial complex. And I'm a veteran, and veterans employ a lot of jobs. These private companies employ a lot of jobs. You have AECOM, Jacobs, General Dynamics. These are huge private organizations that get these huge billions of dollars in contracts and do work, and that work exponentially grows and generates revenue during wartime. And it's pretty down right now compared in the last 2 decades with the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, you know, and the Democrats usually, and they know that, they play that game. And honestly, this is Biden. He's trying to play to both sides, but you can't. Okay. This is just my quick opinion on the Israel and Palestinian conflict right now. Hamas is a terrorist organization that's being funded by Iran, and they are getting paid to shoot thousands of rockets at Israel every day, right? And they're not stopping. And Israel, in the process, must defend themselves. They must use their defense, their rocket defense systems, you know, and it's a lot of collateral damage, unfortunately, on the Palestinian side, because they're pretty much landlocked. But that's the way it is. This conflict has been going on for a long time. It's very complex. But they need to get Hamas and Iran to stop firing rockets at Israel first. Okay? When we saw Trump was the president, they talk a lot of trash about Trump. You may not like him. But he got a lot of countries to make peace with Israel for the first time ever that no other president ever did. He also went to North Korea and shook hands with the North Korean president trying to make peace on the Korean peninsula. As far as domestic foreign policy goes, it was all peace and love with Trump. What is wrong with that? Ain't that what y'all hippies want? It was all peace and love. And now we have this. Didn't happen with Trump. Why didn't it happen with Trump?
And actually, you know what? Let's touch on that for just a brief moment on the Hamas Israel situation that's going on. What you're genuinely looking at, and this is if you boil it down to what it basically is, Hamas wants to eradicate the Jews. That's all it is. They do not want the Jews to be alive. What you're looking at is genocide. You're looking at racial discrimination and genocide. This is no different. It may be scaled down, but this is no different than what Nazi Germany wanted to do back in the 40s. But nobody wants to look at it that way. I mean, I've literally heard arguments from the left on why Israel should stop firing back at Hamas, or, you know, where everything is located at. You know, oh, innocent Palestinian children are dying. It's like, well, what are you going to do? If somebody fired rockets at New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas, if somebody fired rockets at those cities, a foot would be in somebody's ass within 24 hours. Period. That's the end of discussion. There's nothing more that can be said about that. There's nothing wrong with Israel defending themselves against attacks that are going on for literally no reason other than the fact that they are Jewish. Wyatt, your thoughts?
You guys make some good points. I never thought about the argument about the reconstruction, but yeah, look at where they're at. They're in the Middle East. They're surrounded by other countries that don't have the same religion. A lot of conflicts, you can look at any type of war, it's all based on religious beliefs. Okay, so what do you expect them to do? Just turn the other cheek over here and let them bomb them and you know, kill people on their side? It doesn't make sense. And the people who spout this stuff, you know, here on the left, they don't know what's going on. They've never lived in the Middle East. They probably never visited the Middle East. You don't know how much fear is there. If you were in Israel, there's a lot of fear. Fear that you might get blown up. Fear that you might get shot. Fear that all this fear. So they don't understand. We live way away from this. And of course, they can get on their Twitter and handle and, you know, spout all this stupid stuff that they don't know nothing about. They've never even visited the country. So, you know, It's just weekend warriors.
And to really touch on the fear that they live in over in the Middle East, in some of the worst neighborhoods in America, there are people who may sleep on the floor out of fear of a stray bullet. Children and young adults in the Middle East, there is nowhere that they can sleep out of fear of their house being destroyed by a rocket or an IED. So literally every day is a gamble for them. I mean, we talk about in America, a common phrase is, well, I could walk out and get hit by a bus tomorrow and my life would be over. That is a genuine fear for people living in the Middle East. It's not getting hit by a bus. It's being on a bus and the thing exploding. And that is a genuine fear that these people live in. And instead of trying to orchestrate peace talks with these nations' leaders, we're standing by and watching everything go to ruins, everything be destroyed. And there's absolutely no presence in there. And Julius touched on it perfectly. When Trump was in office, he did his damnedest to get peace with every nation that he could. Talks with Russia were going well. Talks with Middle Eastern countries were going well. Talks with our biggest enemy in North Korea were going phenomenally. And everyone scoffed at him for that. Everyone called him a traitor because he shook the leader of North Korea's hand. I mean, why wouldn't you want him to do that? Why wouldn't you want North Korea to open their borders, to free their people, to have more resources? I just don't understand it. Julius, do you want to hop in there?
I mean, you're exactly right. It's really a farce. And listen, this is the problem, right? Hamas, all right, they're firing the rockets. Get them to stop firing the rockets. And you made a great point. What would America do if they were in this situation? This would be the equivalent. The distance of Palestine and Israel, they're right next. This would be the equivalent if Canada and Toronto, Prime Minister Trudeau was just like, yeah, let's fire some missiles over there to Buffalo or New York City. Toronto would be destroyed in a day. So Israel ain't just gonna sit back. Listen, there's native Palestinians. Half of Israel are Muslim. Half of Israel is Muslim. That's what they don't understand. There's Muslims and native Palestinians that live on the Israeli side. They're just as scared. They probably got family on the Palestinian side. Hey, listen, get Hamas to stop firing these rockets, get tougher on Iran, and then we could start. I mean, that's pretty much what Biden has to do. That's pretty much what he has to do.
I kind of look at this and think about what Trump would do in this particular scenario. I mean, obviously, sanctions of all kind would be put on Palestine. It would be put on Iran. Possible military intervention. I would like to think that maybe some sort of military intervention in Palestine where the rockets are coming from, because obviously we all know that Hamas struck first. You start with who struck first. If you see a fight break out on the street and the police shows up, who's the one that gets in trouble? The guy that swung first is the one that gets in trouble. The other guy doesn't go to jail because he was defending himself. It's a lot larger of a scale, but it's the same principle. Israel is defending themselves. What else could they possibly do? Did you guys want to add anything else to this particular discussion? Wyatt, do you have anything else? Julius, nope. No? We're making great time here. Making great time. We're going to move on to sports. A lot of interesting topics that have happened over the last week or so in sports. We're going to start with Tim Tebow signing his contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars to play tight end. First, let's start with him as a player and whether or not he has a real shot at making this roster. And then we'll get into the social side of Tim Tebow signing. Gentlemen, we discussed this pre-show that I think wholeheartedly that Tim Tebow signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars is nothing but a business decision. Even 8 years later, after his last NFL game, he is still a big name. He is still Tim Tebow, the college championship winner, the Heisman Trophy winner, the guy that led the Denver Broncos to a playoff win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, this guy is still a big name, and he's going to draw attention. I can't imagine that they signed him to be an effective tight end. The Jets tried to make him a tight end, and he was terrible. So I sincerely do not think he makes the active roster opening day, week 1. I think he'll be cut before the final 53. But Wyatt, go ahead and jump in and give me your feelings on Tim Tebow.
So I have a friend that's a big Denver Bronco fan. He loved Tim Tebow. We watched a bad Bears game where, Tim Tebow came back and beat the Bears, all because of stupid Marion Barber running out of bounds when he should have stayed in bounds. But anyway, he's all like messaging me today, like, oh man, he's going to make it. He's going to do this. I know money talks. So he's like, the dude won a playoff game with barely throwing the ball. He has good legs. He can run. He can catch. The dude has played baseball for I don't know how many years, 4 or 5. Okay. Practicing on that, focusing on that. But he's a good dude. He's popular. He's going to make you money. I guarantee he's going to make the 53-man roster. But for him to be a good tight end or even somebody that's going to, like a tight end, like average tight end, I don't see it. Yeah, he's an athletic guy. I don't see him blocking very well. When's the last time he learned how to block? Maybe high school. I mean, he was probably a quarterback then. So I just think, like we talked about Rhino before the show, that it's a moneymaker. Like he's there and it's moneymaker. The dude's 34 years old. I really don't see him blocking. Maybe they do some little trick things like Sean Payton did, and he does, some end around runs or gets the ball and throws it. I don't know, but I just really don't see this working out in the NFL for him. A lot of people are saying, well, he's gonna make the roster. He's gonna do this and do that. He can catch the ball. The dude can't catch the ball very well. He can run with the ball. So blocking and running and just a whole different scenario. Like, you're used to being behind the line of scrimmage. Now he's at the line of scrimmage. I just don't see it. I mean, I root for the guy. He's a good dude. He's athletic, but you're playing a completely different position that you probably haven't played since high school. You probably played quarterback on the other side of the defensive, maybe cornerback or something like that. I don't know what he played in high school, but I'm sure he played, 2 positions or 3 positions. But once, you get into college, you forget all that position and you're just the quarterback. So I really I don't see it, especially 8 years removed from the NFL.
First and foremost, I would be willing to bet a house payment that says they signed him, A, to try and get Hard Knocks, and B, to try and sell season tickets and jerseys. But Wyatt, you hit it on the head. I would go as far to say as he probably didn't play both ways after his freshman year in high school. Excuse me. You get with a lot of these higher profile schools, they treat their players the same way college people treat their players. They don't want people playing multiple positions in a chance that they would get hurt. You're trying to win state titles. You're trying to win state championships, make the playoffs. They probably kept him at quarterback, and that was it. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I'd be willing to bet at least his junior and senior year, he didn't see much of the field outside of quarterback. Julius, go ahead and hop in there, bud.
Listen, I love this move by the Jaguars for a multitude of reasons, okay? And yes, he has a 50-50 chance of making a roster at tight end. Why? Because the Jaguars tight end roster, the tight end depth chart includes the likes of James O'Shaughnessy, Luke Farrell, and Chris Manhertz.
Who?
It's possible. Hey, listen, he's 6'3", 255. He can still run enough. I'm sure he could run better than maybe all of those tight ends I just listed. I don't know how much stronger he's gotten. I'm sure he works out. He has a good work ethic. He's going to be tough with blocking. He might be below average. He probably will make the roster. He'll make the team money. He's a positive influence in the locker room. They can get more publicity, like Hard Knocks, as you stated. And by the way, I also want the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell to get Hard Knocks as well. We've never had it. We deserve it. Give it to us. Lions and Jaguars. There you go. Boom. Tim Tebow was a great signing. It was a great signing. He was with Urban Meyer. Him and Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars are like they're trying to be big. All right, that's what they're doing. They're trying to be Hollywood. Okay, and that's how you become Hollywood. Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, and Tim Tebow.
So I have made this argument on Twitter multiple times over the last couple of days. Still touching on just the business side. We're going to get into the social side of things here in a moment. But on the business side of things, it's a phenomenal move. Like you said, Julius, it's going to bring them money. It's going to bring them publicity. But another thing, too, is, a lot of people have made the argument, he's taken spots away from, young undrafted talent that deserve a spot. Well, at the same time, if we break down deserve, why does some undrafted no-name deserve this spot over Tim Tebow? It is, at the end of the day, a private business. The owner can sign whoever he wants. If there is a monetary value with a player over somebody that probably won't make the roster at the end of the day anyways, obviously you're going to take Tim Tebow over some no-name that didn't go in the first 7 rounds of the NFL draft. It just makes sense. Not to mention, Tim Tebow is still a hell of an athlete and was a proven NFL commodity. Even if anything, even if he never sees the field, if he's on the 53-man roster, his presence alone in the locker room will bring guys together. He's a positive guy. He's a winner. He can talk to these young kids and tell them how NFL life is. That alone is valuable enough. I mean, there are several guys on a 53-man roster that may see 5 snaps a year, and that's it. So if you're getting all of these things out of a guy who may get 5-10 snaps, that's way more than you'll get out of somebody who's undrafted or somebody that went in the 7th round and is 3rd string and may never see the field. The value that Tebow brings to the field, the intangibles, are worth the signing alone. Shifting focus a little bit with Tim Tebow to the social side of things. Obviously, one of the hot button conversations when he first got the tryout and the workout, obviously everyone had to bring up Colin Kaepernick. I don't have a problem with what Colin Kaepernick did. It was his right to do that. It was his right to peacefully protest. He had every right to do what he did. The one thing that people still struggle to comprehend when it comes to the NFL, it is a private business. If I were to go downtown Milwaukee tomorrow and start protesting in the middle of the street with my work polo on, and my boss saw it on the news, I would bet you $1 million that says I'm getting a phone call by 5 o'clock saying, bring the van and the keys to the shop, you're done. And that's his right to do that because it's a privately owned business. I don't think there's any comparison between Kaepernick and Tebow. Kaepernick brings a negative aura with him. Whether or not you believe in what he stands for, whether or not you agree with what he stands for, he brings a negative attention that a team who may be trying to compete for a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, or any team for that matter, doesn't want in their locker room. Julius, go ahead and jump in there, bud.
Listen, Tebow, if Colin Kaepernick wants to come back as a wide receiver, he might have a better chance. Okay? Because that was Tebow's only chance, too. He wasn't coming back as a quarterback. It's not like they signed him to be Trevor Lawrence's backup. No. I mean, if he's a 4th string tight end on their depth chart right now. I'm sure Kaepernick, if you still got some wheels on you and you can run a route, you can be at somebody's.
Oh, did we lose you? Oh, did I lose my headphones? Sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
You could be somebody's 8th string wide receiver, Colin. If you want to come back to the league, never mind. You can't be anybody's 8th string wide receiver. You know why? Because you're gonna cause problems that Tim Tebow ain't gonna cause. Okay, you're gonna cause people who are upset with the way you choose to protest, and they're gonna not buy tickets. And unlike Tebow, who brings ticket revenue, who brings jersey revenue, I mean, I'm not gonna get too deep into the Colin Kaepernick thing. Okay, he's not getting a shot, whatever. I'm not gonna go too deep into that. Okay, but like I said, Colin, you have a better chance. You want to come back as a receiver. That's what Tebow did. He got his shot with the Jags. So, I have no problem with it.
Wyatt, go ahead and jump in there. I'll be right back.
Rhino put it simple. Tim Tebow, there was no controversy. The guy was a good dude. He was positive. He did the whole, praying to God, kind of kneeling down kind of thing. Everything was positive. His aurora is positive. Kaepernick brings scrutiny. He brings division. And the reason why, I'm not saying, like Rhino said, it's wrong or right. It's just he brings division. Some people were upset what he did, and some people were like, yes, I like what he's doing. He brings a lot of negative things and negative attention. And a lot of NFL owners, private business, like Rhino said, don't agree with bringing that negative attention on their team. But you got Tim Tebow, brings that positive attention. He doesn't say any political stuff. He's just positive. He's going to bring his teammates up. So that doesn't do anything. It's not going to bring your team down. It's not going to bring your organization down. Tim Tebow is going to make you money. He's going to bring your organization up. So Rhino made a good point as far as that.
Imagine how Twitter is going to explode when Tim Tebow tweets Trump 2024. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad. But I mean, if I think about this a little more, man, like Tebow, is it possible? Is it really possible he can produce at all during the NFL season next season? What's the probability that he can produce? When I say produce, I'm talking about 3 or 4 touchdowns. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy if he had 3 or 4 touchdowns receiving? Wouldn't it be crazy if he was one of the best tight ends in the AFC South?
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. I mean,
like
you're learning a new position.
What's the percentage you think that is likely?
The thing is, I'm going to say 25%, man. and the reason why is you're going against the best players. You know, all of college football, all these best players are in the NFL, and I mean, you're playing a completely whole different position.
Yeah.
It's like trying to get like the Bears. They took one of their offensive linemen. I can't remember his name, Soul or something, and then they made him a tight end the next year. Is he still in the NFL? No. You're taking an offensive lineman, and I know offensive linemen, they're saying they're not great athletes, but they are good athletes. But now you're taking a guy that played quarterback and trying to put him in the tight end position in the best NFL. NFL's the best of the best, and I just don't see it happening.
Bro, I mean, at least they could say that they got like a very, very, very good like 4th or 5th string quarterback insurance plan. Like if they back up, go down, if they 3rd string go down.
Did you see?
Throw Tebow in there to win the game. Throw Tebow in there to win the game. But I guess we should move on from this topic. What else we got before Rhino still is having audio difficulties over there. Sorry.
Before we go on, didn't you see my tweet? I said, how long until Trevor Lawrence struggles that the people are going to be asking for Tim Tebow to start a quarterback?
Hey, listen. That's funny. You laughing. But if Trevor Lawrence come out looking like a straight bum for like the first 10 weeks, just one of the worst quarterbacks in the league his rookie season, the people might be like, hey, just give Tebow a shot. Why not?
Yeah, that'll be funny. But our next topic is the unwritten rules of baseball.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's people still making a big stink out of everything. Why are people still saying there's some people that are for unwritten rules of baseball? Hey, we need to keep this sanctity of the rules that aren't written, but there are unwritten rules, and some of them are ridiculous. Like some of them are like if a major league pitcher gives up back-to-back homers, you take the first pitch on the next one, which is utterly ridiculous, especially at the professional level. And then the reason why this sparked controversy again is because a White Sox player, what's his name again, Julius?
I believe Yermin Mercedes.
Juan would have a fit right now if he didn't know I didn't memorize a White Sox player's name. He hit a home run on a 3-0 pitch, and then this sparked the controversy of the unwritten rules of baseball. Julius, what's your take on that?
You know, I'm not the biggest baseball guy, but I do love baseball. I love playing it more than watching it. And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help that the Tigers have been trash for the last 5 years. Okay, so it's been very hard for me. But I am aware of the unwritten rules of baseball, and I am aware of the situation where you're in Mercedes with Tony La Russa, old school baseball, manager. And Yermin Mercedes, I believe he's a rookie catcher. This is his first season in the majors. I believe he's a catcher, and he's 28 years old. He's worked his way up into the majors, and he's having a monster season. And I mean, honestly, I really don't see an issue. I guess the player, it's not really a big deal to me. Like if Tony La Russa don't like what he did, which I believe what he did was he swung on a 3-0 pitch and he hit it out the ballpark. And I guess that's an unwritten rule
Well,
to not.
they were up quite a bit too. That's why.
But and to be fair, he got the call to take the pitch. That's what the call came from the dugout to the catcher. Not from the catcher to the third base coach. Take the pitch, and he didn't. He smashed it out the park. It was, yeah. I even think the other team's third string catcher was pitching. He threw like a 65-mile-per-hour meatball. And Mercedes could have let it go and walked, but he cracked it for the home run. And I guess it came down to him wanting the stat. He wanted the stat because the better his stats, the more money he's going to make. And you can't blame him for that. And I also don't blame Tony La Russa for being upset that his player ignored his call and hit the ball anyway. I mean, if any sport you played, you disobey the coach's call, even if it results in a home run, I mean, it's still kind of a sign of disrespect. So it's okay that Tony La Russa was mad and disciplined Mercedes in-house. And I'm sure Mercedes don't care. He got the home run anyway. That situation doesn't come up a lot. So I see no big deal about this whole situation.
Well, if you look back on why Tony La Russa told him to take the pitch on 3-0, Tony La Russa is about 485 years old. He's the Yoda of baseball. So he's making that call based off of these ridiculous unwritten rules. I don't think, I mean, the unwritten rules are something that really started to come about in the 30s and 40s. You're talking about 80, 70 years ago that these unwritten rules really started to be adopted in baseball. They have no room in today's game. You're talking about a game that is lowered to a level where it's only regional sports coverage now. I remember back in the day, I mean, you would see baseball games all the time on Fox, ESPN, TBS, TNT. They were nationally syndicated, and it wasn't just on Sundays or Saturdays. It was almost every day of the week. Now, every team has their own, like Fox Sports Milwaukee, Fox Sports Dallas. And the reason for that is because the game is boring. Ultimately, it's boring. You have bat flips that are frowned upon. Swinging on 3-0 pitches are frowned upon. Why? I mean, at the end of the day, what gets a guy paid in baseball? His stat sheet after game 162. That one extra homer could be the difference between a couple $1 million a year for this guy. Not to mention, if you don't want to be down 15-4, throw some better stuff across the goddamn plate. Who's really to blame here? Is it the White Sox that we're going to blame, or is it the fact that the other team came out and laid a complete egg? We don't get mad at football teams that win games 49-0. Nobody says that in football. When a team gets up, 28, 35-0, no team says, oh, that running back shouldn't have scored. That wide receiver shouldn't have caught that touchdown pass in the end zone. That quarterback shouldn't have thrown that pass 3 yards and it was taken 80 to the house. No one says that. The unwritten rules in baseball are a joke. They're ridiculous. They have no space in the game anymore. Let's make the game exciting. I want to see a walk-off home run have a bat flip that goes 15 feet in the air. Or I want to see a guy look at the pitcher and stare him down. Everyone loves trash talk in basketball, in football. Everyone loves trash talk. When you see trash talk in baseball, everyone hates it. I'm telling you something right now. If I step up to a major league plate and I take you deep 430 feet, I'm going to stare into your soul, and I'm going to make sure every camera in the ballpark caught it. That is exciting to me.
Yeah, and there's some things I agree with like the unwritten rules, and you don't see this in NBA like you pointed out, or you don't see it in football, the unwritten rules. But there's some that are just ridiculous, and you look at the retaliation, like in football, if you someone hits your quarterback dirty, you're going after him. You see the offensive line like getting after him. You see that in baseball. You throw at the best hitter and you hit him. Retaliation on the next inning with the other team. I'm fine with. Like, you're defending your team, and that's how it should be. When Andy Dalton got leveled and none of his teammates defended him, that pissed me off. Like, you defend your teammates. Same thing. If Rogers took a hit, you see his, Bakhtiari getting pissed off or somebody. You want them to defend your teammates. So I agree with that unwritten rule. Like, you retaliate if they hit your best hitter. But some of these are ridiculous. And at the lower levels, I think sportsmanship should be, instilled in these kids, because they're not playing for millions of dollars. You have to have that sportsmanship. There was a story. I used to coach high school baseball. I had a loaded team, freshman high school baseball. I coached JV and freshman, but I coached freshman baseball. My freshman team was loaded. These kids were good. I didn't really have to do much coaching. We played this team. We were up by 20 runs. The guy across from me was he was an older dude. I think he was probably in his 50s or 60s. My team was still, I was like, okay, guys, let's just, not steal bases, anything like that. We're not going to show them up. This man, like my players, they're still hitting the ball pretty well and stuff. And he was getting pissed at me and cussing me out across the diamond because my team was swinging. I'm like, what are they supposed to do? Just take all the 4 balls or get a strikeout and not swing the bats at all? Like, he cussed me out after the game, and I was trying not to laugh because I've never had an older man just like cuss me out. But I'm like, what are they supposed to do? Just sit there and take the pitches? Like, I told my team not to show them up, but I'm like, they're not supposed to just take there and take the pitches. So this is that old mentality. You can't teach old dog new tricks type of thing. They need to get this out of their head. Weren't showing them up, but they're not just go up to the plate and just watch the ball go by. So there is a level of sportsmanship that you need to have at the lower levels. But at the major league, if you're in the major leagues and you're going to throw the ball down the middle 3-0, why not swing? Who the hell cares? That's what fans like to see, is somebody hit the ball deep. They don't like to see somebody take a 3-0 pitch. You're in the major leagues, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Throw the damn ball somewhere that's not down the middle of the plate.
Well, not only that, this happened at home for the White Sox. Fans, the majority of fans, I mean, obviously your baseball diehards like to go to games and they like to watch pitching performances. I love pitching performances myself, but your average fan goes to the ballpark to see home runs or wild plays or, their team win 7-0, 10-0. So, I mean, the fans love it. Give the fans what they want. No one else has a problem with this stuff in any other sport but baseball. These old, ancient, 100-year-old unwritten rules they got to go. I don't think there's any place for them. Make the game more exciting. I want to see somebody launch their bat like a javelin next time they hit a home run. And you want to know what? I'm going to be like, oh my God, that was awesome.
You know what, Rhino? I disagree with you. I think the unwritten rules of baseball has a kind of a hallowed place in the league. And I mean, Major League Baseball goes back to like the middle 19th century. I mean, it's it's the oldest sports league in America. And the players that have come through, the great teams throughout, you have to keep some of that with you as you move forward in the future. You can't just forget about all of that, okay? And the unwritten rules are all of that. That's been around forever. And you start getting rid of unwritten rules, and then you start to change the rules. And then and then the game is different. I mean, would that be better? I mean, maybe. But I think more people wants to keep the game sacred, as we would say, in historic terms. And I don't have a problem with the unwritten rules as long as it doesn't cause strife. Like, literally, if this thing in the White Sox, if I was a White Sox fan, hi Juan, and this thing caused a problem in the locker, in the dugout, in the bullpen, if the players, the coaches, if it's made a problem and we started losing games, okay, then I'm like, okay, this is stupid. All right, stop arguing over unwritten rules. They're unwritten, okay? Then I'd be kind of pissed. But for one, I'm not a White Sox fan, and for two, it don't seem like this is having much effect in the locker room. Just like Tony La Russa didn't like it, he disciplined Mercedes in-house, behind the scenes. Mercedes was cool with it. He was like, it's what it is. I took the pitch, even though, I hit the pitch, even though they told me to take it. I apologize for it, whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal. So I'm cool with the unwritten rules sticking around.
I mean, I can appreciate that point.
I like the historical allure of it. I think there's a place for it. Okay. As long as it doesn't cause strife.
I can appreciate that. We're going to end the night with the final point. Wyatt has this week's final point. Wyatt, go ahead and take the stage, sir.
My first one, guys. So mine is basically just following up with what we talked about. Tony La Russa, after Yerman Mercedes, hit that 3-0 pitch out of the ballpark. Tony La Russa, if you followed him, even with La Russa, if you followed him when he was coaching the St. Louis Cardinals, he's always been a stickler for the unwritten rules. He's always made comments negatively, whether it's his team doing it or another team's doing it. And so when he called Mercedes clueless and this is a teachable moment, guess what, Tony La Russa? This is a teachable moment for you because times have changed. You're an old dog in a new baseball environment and there's new guys, and it's a teachable moment for you in order to, you're over there, You're over there making your clubhouse not trust you. And this is a teachable moment for you, and be like, have your young man's back and say, and say something else in the public eye, keep it in house. So this was a teachable moment, I believe, for him. There's been a lot of controversy on Twitter about this thing. And Tony La Russa is an old man coaching a new man's game.
I completely 100% agree with you. And actually, this is how far back Tony La Russa goes. He was the manager of the A's when they were playing in the World Series in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, he was Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco's manager way back when. So he has been around a long time. And the game has made a paradigm shift since he first started managing. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different atmosphere. So very well said, Wyatt. I completely agree. Julius, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I didn't realize that he called him clueless. I just picked that up, and see, now I have a different outlook on it, because once you start getting disrespectful, he said this to the press, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he said it to the media. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, that can cause strife in the locker room. If you're calling players names because your unwritten rules that I was just fawning over are getting broken by one of your best players in his rookie year, 28 years old, just made it to the majors. He's having an amazing season, and you calling him clueless, that's disrespectful, and it might cause strife in the locker room. You can't do that, Tony La Russa.
Gentlemen, we have had a great show this evening. Great topics. Wyatt, you did a phenomenal job with today's lineup. So kudos to you, sir. Does anybody have anything that they would like to remark or add on before we call it quits this evening?
We miss you, Juan. We'll see you next week.
We miss Juan.
We miss you, Juan, even though the Bears still suck. I just got to get that out there. Just because you're not here, Juan, don't mean that the Bears still don't suck. So there you are. Wyatt, your Bears suck. Also, go Lions. They deserve the hard knocks, just like I reiterated to earlier, and the Jaguars. And go Lions.
I'm going to leave you with this thought on a surprise team that could get hard knocks given their current situation. What if?
I don't want to see that.
What if Aaron Rodgers is gone, though?
You're right, though. You're right. That's an interesting situation. It could entice the producers. But I think there's rules when it comes to hard knocks for the teams. I think they are only going to give it to a team that's never had it before, or a team, and they couldn't be a playoff team, I believe, from the previous year.
That I didn't know.
So the Packers might not qualify, but that is, of course, any other time, that would be very interesting.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to sign off for the evening. Once again, I am Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. You can find Mr. Wyatt on Twitter at the Cornelius7, and of course, the one and only Julius. You can find him on Twitter at the Fifth Top. Gentlemen, great show this evening.
Good show, boys.
Go Bears.
Go Pack.